Alright, so basically me I listen to the ice spill and I find it very interesting. It is very informative and everything. Right? In terms of the angle that we would add to it is this, and it's one of the focus where we have to basically keep in mind. Jamaica is really governing under a capitalist system. And we have to recognize that a capitalist system is governed by a certain principle. And like every economic order that exists in every country of the face of the earth, it carries a certain downside to it. So therefore, if you're talking about a society that is governed by the capitalist doctrine, right, basically come out of people doctrine like John Locke and them man there from out of the 1800s. If you go abide by a certain capitalist doctrine, you have to recognize that it will not cater to certain equity, certain justice where you look for cannot come out of capitalism. And as long as we are adhering to a capitalist system, the ills of society going to give a direct reflection of that economic order. Right? It's like when them say, a hungry man will always be an angry man. So when we're looking at the society in Jamaica, and you say, okay, we need a more equity, especially an equity for the lower class. We basically ask what is impossible, you know. Because when you study the economic system and the principle of capitalism, it is based upon a funnel system. When I say the funnel system, when I talk about basically is our pyramid shape. Society will only produce X amount of skills, X amount of people, X amount of earning in order to create the funnel system. So if you look for a square system, which is meaning basically if you ask equity to come out of a capitalist system, we are asking for the impossibility. Because when you listen to the doctrine, because this is what we have to look upon, you know. The system is governed by a philosophy. It is not governed by empathy. It is not governed by sympathy. It is not governed by equity. No system not governed based on them thing there. So once we say the government create a policy and it creates an economic policy, it will have its upside and its downside. Now, based on we coming out of a slavery system, then we went into colonialism, then we went into neo-colonialism, and now the world under which we govern is imperialism. So, inequity is a fundamental aspect of imperialism. So to ask a man who is wicked and vicious to show mercy is a contradiction within one understanding, because the system cannot be capitalism and have equity. If you notice, one of the things that come out of our history and our culture and our virgin, make it just in a relative terms, let's look at Africa as an example. If you look at Africa and you look at Asia, these are countries where the indigenous people was never removed from them land. Those who remain there never removed from them land, right? So what you find happening in them countries, when them countries they start fight for liberation, what was unique to all of them countries upon the African continent and in Asia and Southeast Asia, the cry of liberation was the liberation of the land, you know. I mean, I try to point out something fundamental. It was about the liberation of the land, because them people have never left them land. Now, make we come in at the Caribbean. But in any country in the Caribbean and look what was the cry for liberation. It was not for the land. It was for wages. That is why the liberation of every country came out of the trade union. The liberation of Trinidad came out of trade union. The liberation of Barbados came out of trade union, because the people did not see themselves as having a close affinity to the land, because they see themselves as a people who were transported. But you go to Nigeria, you go to Ghana, you go to Zimbabwe, you go to Namibia, you go to Botswana. What was the cry for liberation of these? We want back with land. We want back with land. So when you go into them countries today, the struggle still surround that, the economic system still surround that. So it is not a surprise to us in the Caribbean, where when you listen to our cry, it is always tied to wages. And we were groomed and trained to try for wages. And that's why every single political party that ever come up out of the Caribbean came out of trade union. Yes, my brother.
Matthew. When we came out, and I believe Heru who did the breakdown last week and was showing that the land doesn't belong to the people. It belongs to the monarchy, which they call it the crown land.
Yeah.
And we were crying out, screaming out, even when I time them, asking for a change in the constitution when they have the constitution reform to label the land as the people's land. And that is why we stand on black nationalism.
Yeah.
So you brought up capitalism, you have explained that really and truly, which we know that you can't have empathy and sympathy when you're dealing with a capitalist regime or capitalist policies.
Right.
So should the people swear to socialism then?
Alright,
What is the alternative? Because our stance is black nationalism straight, you know.
Alright.
It's for the people of our race, you know. So where should the people turn?
Alright. One of the thing with black nationalism is that black nationalism is a philosophy, is a political philosophy from my perspective. It is not an economic philosophy. Because let me show you something. Every nation on this earth here is governed by nationalism. Whether it's Japanese nationalism, Chinese nationalism, European nationalism, white nationalism, that has basically for those transported white people who consider themselves white. So I say that for say, when you deal with these societies who are sophisticated enough within them own conscious development, even though them practicing nationalism, them don't attach them ethnicity to it, you know, but there's a common understanding that their ethnicity is paramount, that their ethnicity is the zenith of them system. So okay, so if we live in our society and we go and say black nationalism, it means that the commanding height of the political order, the polity of the nation is going to be governed and controlled by black people. Okay. But that doesn't, for me, that doesn't spell out an economic order. And I'll give you an example. You have to remember, you know, when we speak of black nationalism, a black nationalism is a thing where it's really fundamental for those of us who were transported in the Western world, you know. And you know what I mean by this? If you go to a black country where everybody black, you will never hear the term black. Because it is understood that the black is a relative term for those other races that exist within a country. So if you go in a country where there's all black people, it would be redundant to say black nationalism, unless you're speaking in relative terms to the outside nation. So for me, when we go and speak of black nationalism, which is a position where me adhere to, it is a position that I believe in, I still have an understanding that by saying black nationalism, I'm just speaking of the polity. I'm just speaking from a perspective of how the society would be ordered, how the society would be constructed politically. But it does not tell me in a derivative terms what it means economically. Because if we have a nation, yeah, go ahead, my brethren.
Alright, so alright, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to answer the question, and then we're going to show you the economic side. We're going to show you the economic side with black nationalism.
Yes, sir.
We are calling for.
Yeah, man.
Alright. If it's not capitalism, can you don't explain the policy and the regime that capitalist state come with, then what are you suggesting? Are you suggesting that the people sway to a socialist regime?
Alright, this is what I always say when I'm asked that question. Is that we have to face a reality of the economic order within the country and try to gradually move towards creating and evolving an economic order that will be unique to our historical experience. Go remember, when you go back in the root of this country, you know, and you go forward to the founding from 1938 at the PMP party, them did establish for them order upon democratic socialism, you know. Now what is this democratic socialism? The democratic socialism is that the state was going to work in order with the private sector, but the state should command the commanding heights of the economic order, meaning that the main industries in this country that will propel the nation forward should be controlled by the government, and the other smaller industries should be controlled by the private sector. So they are trying to find like what me that reason with the virgin them on another occasion, the synthesis, the thesis, and all that. So the point what me I try to say is, instead of we become wedged to a particular economic order that is already in existence, we need to evolve, we need to engage. Me personally, this is what me always say, we need to engage the economists them in the institution in the country who has a certain level of black consciousness to integrate our experience and evolve an economic order that can be beneficial to the race and the nation and the country. So me personally, now go choose capitalism, now socialism, now fascism, now oligarchism, or none of them things. Me personally, yes sir.
Alright, well on Matthews. The evolution you call for with all those policies, we describe or we coined it as democratic nationalism. Everyone will show you the economic side
Okay.
to democratic nationalism and what it really means.
Beautiful.
Blessed love.
Blessed love, my brother. Blessed every time.
Sometimes you have to practice Sankofa. Look back to go forward. And we coin democratic nationalism or black nationalism. Mr. Garvin himself had coined the phrase earlier as nationalism for the UNIA, the black government. What we are saying, when you break it down to the foundation of economic systems, we in Africa had started from the bartering system where a man have 2 mango and you swap with a man with 2 potato. Then we developed a currency which could have been gold, could have been beads, could have been whatever. And we use that as a standard trading tool. So for this one bead or this one piece of gold, you could have get 2 yam, 4 pieces of banana and 4 grain. That was the practice. And if you remember when King Mansa Musa traveled around the world, he would always travel with gold, and he used that gold to empower some people by just giving it away. So we had understood trading from the perspective of having goods and services paid for with and commodity with a substance. Coming forward now that we are in this system that the Europeans left with us, the capitalist system, we have to now transition from capitalism to black nationalism, wherein we look at the focus to empower black people first, as Mr. Garvin said, race first. When you look at the capitalist system, what it has done, and put white people first, you have to realize that the Jews put the Jews first. The Chinese put the Chinese first. But they don't spell it out in so many words as we are giving out. It's black nationalism. See, Trump tell you, the MAGA system, make America great again. He could have easily well said, make America white again. Because that is what he's doing. He's expelling anyone that is not white out America and finding some way to expel you. Even under the system that you by birthright under the United Nations 30 human rights. So you have a right of residence in the place where you're born. So Trump just overturn it. If you're born in America, you're not American. If your parents born in America, you are not American. So you have to understand that what they do it with the ethnicity coming first and foremost. Even the economic side. Alright. So economics basically mean that how are you going to propel yourself and control your trading? The foundation of all wealth comes from the land. And this is why we are saying the land will be nationalized and the land will be, the crown land that they say will become the people's land. All wealth come from the land. Whether you buy, build house on it, grow
crops on it. Whatever you're going to do, that is the foundation of all wealth. You're going to mine the ores that come out of the ground. That is the wealth of the country.
Backside everything.
Everything. And what that must do, that must ensure a livable quality of life of every individual in the country. What they did in 1834 didn't empower black people, it only empowered white people. In 1834, when they say emancipation, they gave the white farm owners £20 million to share up. That created enough intergenerational wealth for white people that the great NCB bank that you see here as the largest bank in Jamaica came out of that money. The £20 million that was shared up at emancipation. Intergenerational wealth. But black people got intergenerational poverty because they didn't get any land and they didn't get any money. And this is what is manifesting today, that black people in Jamaica suffer. You have 2 million black people, which is homeless.
Yes, sir.
Out of the 3 million where the census tell you. When you check it, 2 million is homeless people. None of them have a title. None. 2 million homeless people. So we have to change that process by when the constitution is changed. We will now create a land shift between all of the land that is now known as Crown land, which is almost 70% of the land in the country. That must go to the people. It's the people's land. Should have been done from 1834, but let us correct the ill now. So out of that sharing of the land, wealth will come. Who a parent, you must stop parent. Who not on the land, you can start plant and grow some on the land.
And another thing to add to that, people, is that the majority, what they call democracy is flawed, because the majority, the people, what they're expressing as what they need to be done, as heralded in the philosophies and opinion of Marcus Garvey, the will of the people, they have totally been ignored by those in authorities. I don't know which will them are bring to the House of Representatives. I don't know who is demanding all those policies and laws and everything that them pass, all the bills that them pass in Parliament. Where did it come from? Which constituency, which people, which community? So it has been years of neglect of black people in this country, years upon years. And what we're calling for is that the majority should have the final say, and the resources and the land should be given back to the people, and that can only be happened, and can only be done, as mentioned before, with a change of the constitution and through democratic nationalism. Go through where you're, bring me back. Yeah, go through where you're, Virgin.
Who, that me?
Yeah, go through.
Alright, yeah, may I listen to all the brethren broke it down, and in terms of the, for me, in terms of the black nationalism part, like I said earlier, me can agree with it that you can order, mean shape and structure society around that. And like me said earlier, every nation on the face of the earth do it. Those who are functioning more sophisticatedly and more upon a higher conscious level, them don't have to really preface them argument with the identification of them race and them ethnicity. So I totally agree with another aspect there, whereas say the part is elusive to me. You see, a lot of time when we hear certain terms, we hear certain terms very, very broad and elusive, right? And we grew up in a society where you're coming out from the 60s. We hear them broad and elusive terms, yeah. But these are terms we're going to have to contextualize and give meaning to them. Like when you say, all right, the land should be controlled by the people. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know what that means, you know. We can look on it in a simplistic term and say, okay, everybody get a piece of land. But society going still have to codify that, and somebody in a society going still have to regulate that. And me I go assume say a government to do that. So once government come in and start involve the human factor they unite, then it becomes a little bit more complicated. Now, me is a man where I always believe this. We is a people where basically get thrown in a captive for more than 400 years. And by the fact that foreigners was able to come in our country and come on our continent and brought us into captive, it shows that there was a shortfall in our governing philosophy from that time. So me is an individual where everything... Yeah, go ahead. Eh?
No, which government you are talking about? Which government? Which fall short? You are talking about 1960?
No, me say we fell short philosophically. Remember, every society need a philosophy to govern them. And anytime your philosophy fail you, that is when you go into subjugation. That is when you get conquered, because it means that your philosophy wasn't broad enough, wide enough, deep enough to anticipate aggression. So we then in Africa, you can go back as far as we want to go, and we was living a certain lifestyle, and we was living within a certain equanimity and a certain sense of justice, but still we were conquered. Still we were brought into slavery. We still undergo under slavery. So me said that we say this, we need a whole revision, because Marcus Garvey tell we, you know, we're not only going ape after the past, but we must envision ourselves creating something that has never been created before. So that's one of the reasons why me not adhere to socialism, me not adhere to capitalism, me not adhere to oligarchism. What I am open to is to fashion something new that this world has never seen economically. And that fashioning must come out of our experience. Now we can appendage that to some of the past. We can use the past as a guidance. We can use the past to light our footprint going forward. But me still adhere to the principle that a human experience is what must fashion us going forward, and we can use the past as a light. But I personally don't believe the past can be regurgitated. I don't believe that. It can happen, and that is not to take away from the legitimacy of those who may believe that. I am just saying I don't believe the past can be regurgitated as it was pre-conquer days. So me as an individual that believe our experience for the last 500 years can fashion a future going forward, can fashion an economic order. Yes, the ordering of society can be around black consciousness. It can be about black nationalism. But for me, that doesn't spell out an economic order. Even though, and that may be a lack of understanding for my part. Me can totally agree with that. That may be a lack of understanding for my part. But until I can better understand it, then that will be the only time I can say, okay, then I see it, I understand it, and it is a philosophy and a principle that I can adhere to. But in a nutshell, black nationalism for me is only spelling out a philosophical and a political ideology or society should be ordered. But for me, I don't believe it goes to the core, the principle of an economic order. And like me say, me can readily admit it, that may be a shortfall on my part. And I'm open to learning, I'm open to changes, I'm open to see the light there, but at this moment, me really not see it.
Alright. I don't know if you're Virgin, I hear me. You hear me, Virgin?
Yeah, man, I hear you.
Yeah, man. Alright, we give thanks. Remember, I said the time. I do it by the time. You know?
Yeah, man, bless you. Yeah, man, blessing my virgin. Thanks for the opportunity here, sir.
Yeah, man, give thanks.
Every time.
Virgin said you need